Welcome to Festool TV. My name is Frank, and today I have the pleasure of showing you the plunge saw. The TS55R comes to the market under the motto, the best plunge saw that Festool has ever built. 55 stands for the maximum cut depth, and R stands for Randnah, close to the edge in German. And now we can really see the first feature. The cover is kept very flat here, which enables us to use walls as guides and, for example, saw an expansion joint between a wall and a laminate floor, a parquet floor, or a patio deck. We can set the cutting depth in the front section. You can work with both this FS label, i.e. the guide rail, or without a guide rail. When working without a guide rail, you can use the cut depth indicator here if you wish to set the cutting depth. In the rear section, we have this small screw, which lets us set the cutting depth even more precisely. In this way, you can always reset the 0 point each time the saw blade is resharpened, if this procedure has changed the diameter of the saw blade. Of course, the segment can be swiveled from -1 to 47 degrees. In the rear section, we have another detail, the guide wedge. This is the so-called riving knife in earlier saw models. It underwent several modifications. This means that it currently has two functions. On one hand, it must ensure safety as a riving knife, and on the other hand, it serves to guide the saw when I work with the guide rail. I'll show you exactly how it works in a practical application. Let's start with the first feature. This flat cover intended for enabling sawing to a close edge. I've built a sample set here. Now I want to saw off an open joint with a uniform width of 12 millimeters. This means that I have to set the depth appropriately through the quick stop mechanism here. Now I can connect the machine and carry out this operation. You can see that this saw is very comfortable and easy to use, and I quickly create an even groove. I also want to show you one more thing about working with this guide wedge. For this purpose, we'll quickly rearrange this set now. What I have here as an example is a board, an untrimmed board. Now I wish to remove the waney edge from the board with my guide rail. In general, such workpieces are not necessarily the same length as my guide rail, 1.40 meters. They can sometimes reach 3 or 4 meters. If I don't have such a long guide rail, but only a relatively short rail, the first thing that I would do is apply marking, so that I know how to position the guide rail eventually. Then I practically start with the first cut, and once I reach the end of the guide rail, I push it one length forward. We continue exactly where we left off. We can find the groove with this guide wedge. In practice, the riving knife is plunged first, before cutting with the saw blade begins. You can see that here. Now that I've found the sawing groove, the cutting is oriented along the length of my guide rail, and I can cut through the rest of the workpiece. This is the purpose of the guide wedge. So we now have two features. On the one hand, the ability to saw close to an edge, and on the other hand, the guide wedge. Of course, I also have the option to add various accessories. For example, I can provide for the more effective removal of shavings when sawing plasterboard panels. In addition, you can use this part if you want to saw shadow gaps up to 46 millimeters. Another tool you can use is the parallel guide. This guide can be placed here if you intend to make parallel narrow cuts. The whole rail can be rotated, and now I have the option to extend the table so I can also work on the other side. I think this is a successful saw, which will surely please craftsmen and improve the speed and efficiency of their work. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time at Festool TV. Yours, Frank.